Hey guys, what's up? This is Potch, and we're taking up Payday 2 once again. This game has been around for over 2 years now, and the game still doesn't get old. Longtime subscribers may actually associate my channel more with the Payday music that I used to post on this channel, so I guess it won't be much of a surprise for them to see me making Payday 2 videos. With new heists, weapons, and characters coming out regularly, both free and paid, the game still feels fresh every time I come back to it. The developer team continues to update and make changes to the skills and perks, albeit a bit slow, but it's just enough to keep longtime heisters coming back to the game. Every now and then Steam goes on sale and novelty games such as Payday 2 drop prices really low during these sales, and it's always a good time to buy new DLC or the game itself during these times. I myself just bought the new John Wick weapon pack and Spec Ops Gauge, the Gauge Spec Ops pack that came out this last October and November, and I'm loving every bit of it. Any fan of character building is sure to enjoy the diverse options you have with Payday 2. Whether you're a fan of miniguns or flamethrowers, SMGs, rocket launchers, there's a build here for you just waiting to be discovered. I personally love sniper rifles and grenade launchers, and my current build works around those too, but for this video we're looking into a long time build that I've been wanting to create for some time, but I never really got the chance to do so since back then Payday didn't really support melee heavy builds. This latest patch, however, they've upped the game for melee lovers, and now my Yakuza build can finally come to life. I mean, it's not like I wasn't able to create a melee build back then. You still could, but you just couldn't play it on higher difficulties. But with these new changes, you can now one-hit a Skulldozer with a fully charged melee weapon. And yes, if played properly, it's a viable build for the toughest difficulty, one down. Alright, so let's get into it. This build takes heavy inspiration from the Samurai or Bushido idea. I really love the idea of incorporating a melee build in first-person shooters. If I remember correctly, I did a similar version in Warframe back when I wasn't making videos. So first off, you're gonna want to look into the Fugitive skill tree, which will be placing a lot, if not most, of our skill points into this side of the tree, namely placing points into the brawler skills, starting with martial arts. We only want the basic version of this one since we'll be getting our knockback from a different skill line. Then we're going to ace Pumping Iron, Berserker, and Frenzy, making this build more of a Frenzerker based build, but more importantly we're going to ace the Bloodthirst skill. Now remember, this is a melee build, so it being a melee based build, we're going to want all the skills that will buff up our melee weapon. And with the new change to an ace Bloodthirst skill, you can now become a beast, dealing up to 1600% of your melee damage. Paired along with Berserker, Frenzy, and Pumping Iron, you can become the ultimate melee powerhouse. For those of you who aren't familiar with Bloodthirst, what this skill does is increase your next melee damage for every enemy you kill. The buff, however, resets after you kill an enemy with a melee attack, so most of the time you're gonna want to rack up some kills before you go on and one-hit that Skulldozer. Next in the Fugitive skill tree are the Revenant skills. Mostly you only want the Revenant skills for going into heists with difficulties of Mayhem or above up to 1 down, since you can expect to die quite often and you're going to need the survivability for those difficulties, but you most likely won't need these skills for Overkill and below. Now what you want is to ace 9 lives, Swan Song, and Feign Death. 9 lives comes in handy for the additional bleed out health, buying your teammates time to get to you and revive you, while the aced version allows you to go down an additional time so you can make the most of those medical bag charges. And remember to only use the medical bag when your vision turns gray to reset the number of downs you can have. If you simply need health, look for some first aid kits instead. Okay, so why Swan Song? Swan Song comes in handy when you find yourself out of reach from your team. It gives you the chance to run closer to your friends so they can revive you, but that's not the only reason why you get Swan Song aced. The ace version actually allows you to have unlimited ammo for the duration of Swan Song, which becomes really useful when you're surrounded by an army of police. The effect of Swan Song can last up to, I think, about 6 seconds, and that's 6 seconds of unlimited ammo. I usually swap out to my grenade launcher and just spam all over the place, which usually results in an instant clearing of enemies. And on the other hand, feign death just makes you less of a burden to your team. Just in case you end up getting down too often, you can pick yourself up with a 30% chance or so. But hopefully, if you play this build properly, you won't have to need you won't have the need for this skill too often. The next skill tree we'll be dumping points into is the Enforcer's tank skills. I actually wanted to create a less armor-like build and go for the dodge kind, but I really wanted to feel like a samurai moving swiftly and closing in fast on enemies, so I had to go the tank route. So you're going to want to ace Resilience for the increase in armor recovery and flashbang effect reduction. You're going to be in the front lines most of the time as a melee assassin, so you can't afford to get caught up with a flashbang. You're also going to want to ace Shock and Awe for those pesky shields, and also ace the Iron Man skill for the ICTV armor, placing in some points into Die Hard and Transporter to reach that armor, the ICTV skill perk. You also might want to consider acing out the Underdog skill from Shotgunner, since most of the time you'll find yourself surrounded by enemies, and it's not a must-have skill, but if you have extra points, you should invest in this skill. And lastly, one of the more essential skills to further make you feel like a samurai are the skills Duck and Cover, Parkour, and Second Wind from the Ghost skill tree. These skills give you high mobility, which is what you want for a samurai-ish feel. Most of the time you're going to be using your melee weapon to slash enemies into bits, and you're not gonna be able to do that if you're running really slowly, and it's not really gonna feel that fun if you're running slowly. Also, these skills complement the Yakuza perk deck, allowing you to weave in and out of combat whenever you need to. Most of the time it comes in handy when you need to take cover to quickly regenerate your armor, which shouldn't take very long if you have the Yakuza perk deck on you. Now, it's time to talk about your equipment. Any weapon works fine really, but I'd go with a grenade launcher for your primary skill to get rid of large clusters of enemies during those stressful moments. You should also use the grenade launcher to quickly rack up some kills for your Bloodthirst skill. Whenever you encounter a bulldozer, just destroy a few clusters of enemies and charge up your melee attack, and you should be able to one-hit any bulldozer. In my case, I'm using the Piglet grenade launcher, but you can use the GL40 if that's what you have. I simply prefer the fast rate of fire that the Piglet has, but if you can't stand the long reload time, the GL40 should do just fine. As of now, I'm actually aware that the Scarface character pack comes with a assault rifle that is paired up with a grenade launcher. I wouldn't really recommend this weapon since it has a really low ammo pickup, and it's not really a very good weapon to use. Probably for fun. I've been playing around with this weapon and the little friend of Scarface, and it doesn't really feel like it can survive in higher difficulties above Mayhem. Alright, so moving on, for the secondary, I like to use Jiro's Micro Uzi, modded for maximum stability. You want to aim for 100 stability since you won't really need much accuracy or damage to kill normal enemies, and since you're going to be up front and personal with your enemies, and you're most of the time you're really going to want to have that stability so that your Uzi doesn't just fly all over the place with recoil. So the micro Uzi also has a large amount of ammo, so you shouldn't really have much trouble with ammo. And the idea is to use the Uzi to alternate between killing an enemy and then quick attack with melee for the next one. This should keep your ammo in check. Now for your melee weapon, any weapon with a charged up attack of 400 should do just fine, but I personally like using the swords for this build, namely the Shinsakto Katana or the Great Sword, to match the theme of this build, and both relatively have short animations when you use them, giving that effect of being able to slice out quickly. Your throwable is completely up to you, but I prefer using the ones that you can pick up again, like the throwing axes, just in case you run out of ammo, you need some extra throwing stuff, extra damage that you can just pick up on the go. The throwing knives or even the javelin, the throwing axes even, are great options for you. The javelin has high damage, which you can use to take out bulldozers if you really don't have stacks on your bloodthirst skill. As for your special equipment, I'd recommend bringing either an ammo bag or a medical bag. Those two are probably your best picks, and of course for armor you want to have the heaviest one, which is the improved combined tactical vest or the ICTV. And lastly, you want to have the Yakuza Perk decks, which gives you increased movement speed and armor recovery. The movement speed is to allow you to quickly charge into your enemies and melee them, while also allowing you to run for cover should you ever need to recover your armor. It shouldn't take long to recover your armor with this perk deck too, since simply find an object to crouch behind, and within a second or two, or maybe even half a second, I lose track, you should have your armor back up. It's really fast. Your armor recovery is really quick with the Yakuza perk deck. So but if you don't have the Yakuza perk deck, an alternative is the Infiltrator perk deck, which gives your damage it gives you damage reduction for enemies within medium range. It's a great alternative to keep you tanky at closer range, but it won't give you that samurai feel of being able to move quickly between enemies. Alright, so yeah, that's about it. Let me know what you think about the build. Let me know if you like it, or if there are any flaws that I missed out on during my playtests that you've discovered that I haven't. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. So until next time, I'll see you guys there, and stay frosty.